So today we're talking about continuing to talk about our relationship with the divine and what that looks like and how important it is. I think that if there's any one thing I would focus on the most this year, it's us really getting that and us really living from that there is something that is here for us, and it is here for every single one of us. It's the oneness. It's what we have all come forth from. And the reality is that we spend most of our day not in the awareness of that, and we make decisions not in the awareness of that, and we take action not in the awareness of that. And how much better our lives can be when we consciously make that decision every day. Hey, good morning, God. It's you and me today. And throughout this day, I'm going to take time every so often to remember it's you and me, God. You know, it's you and me. Whatever your understanding of God is, it's you and me. And together we've got this. Together we've got this. And isn't that where we all want to be? Yeah, just that, remembering that, knowing we're not doing this alone. There's incredible power right at hand here for us, and we can truly move into the life of our dreams. And when I say the life of our dreams, the authentic aspect of the dreams that are deep inside of us. So our mission is to encourage and inspire spiritual and personal growth by empowering each other to be authentically all that we came here to be. And I love our mission because I sincerely believe that when we are being authentically all that we came here to be, that it is then that we are being our clearest expression of the goodness of God, of the grace, of the peace, of the oneness, of the hope, of the truth, of the compassion, of all that God is. And when we are being that authentic expression, that is the greatest gift that we can possibly give this planet. Can you imagine? If we were all living from that place, that our desire is just to be the clearest expression of God that we have come here to be. Whatever the God is of our understanding. I think that's the big key there. Whatever the God is of our understanding. So the title of today's talk is You Are An Alchemist. And so what happened this last Monday was that I saw somebody on Facebook post that they read this book, The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho, at the beginning of every year. How many of us have read it? All right, good. And so I thought, well, goodness, this is sitting there, and it's just been sitting there probably for years. So I grabbed the book and I read it that day, and it inspired me to talk about it today. One of the things I love about it, it's a spiritual adventure. I love spiritual adventures because spiritual adventures you can sit down and read in a day. Some of our other spiritual books, you just have to take it bit by bit. But boy, take me on a good spiritual adventure, and I'm right in there. This book reminded me once again that we're not doing this alone. This book reminded me once again that whatever it is that's inside of me that's desiring to come forth, that it's real and it's important, and that I have everything that I need here to express that and to be that, and that all things truly do work together for the greater good. So what is alchemy? I went to Webster. Oh, I forgot that I had this. We didn't have this up last time, so I'm excited. Yay. And the first definition is a form of chemistry and speculative philosophy practiced in the Middle Ages and the Renaissance, and concerned principally with discovering methods for transmuting baser metals into gold and with finding a universal solvent and an elixir of life. Second is any magical power or process of transmuting a common substance, usually of little value, into a substance of great value. So an alchemist is someone who can do these things. And generally what they were doing is they were changing lead into gold. And they were considered powerful. They were considered wizards, and they were considered special. They were the exception rather than the rule. And so this story is about this young boy. His name is Santiago, and he's a shepherd, and he has a flock of sheep, and he loves what he does. He loves taking care of his sheep. He knows them all by name. He knows what their needs are. He loves to travel, so he gets to travel the countryside and to meet all kinds of people, and he knows exactly where to take his sheep, that they're going to get fed well, they're going to have water, and then he sells their wool, and he absolutely loves what he gets to do. So one day, Santiago meets a king, and he's the king of Salem, and his name is Melchizedek. And the king talks to him about something called a personal legend. And he shares with him that your personal legend is that something that was within you when you were a child. It was the dreams of your soul. It was the authenticity of your being that with time was programmed out of us. How many of us can relate to some of these things being programmed out of us? Yeah. So this personal legend is something that the king is encouraging Santiago to pursue, and he's also calling it a treasure. And he tells him that his treasure is going to be in Egypt at the pyramids. So some of the other wisdom that the king shares with him is he tells Santiago, and we've heard this before, that when you really want something, that the universe conspires on your behalf. The entire universe conspires on your behalf to make that happen. And he said that when someone makes a decision, and I love this, he is really diving into a strong current that will take him to places he had never dreamed of when he first made that decision. And most of us here have lived enough life to recognize and see that our journeys have taken us to places we never would have even begun to imagine, long ago. But they've been amazing places that have grown us. And it's not always necessarily that they felt like amazing places, but all of the places that we have gone and all of the experiences that we have had, they've always provided us opportunity to reveal more of what it is that we have come here to be. So for me, what the king represents the Holy Spirit. Or in Unity, we look at that as the activity of God, and the activity of God that shows up as a person or as an idea, as an epiphany, as a solution, as that something that makes the way clear for us. And it is the activity of God that urges us on, and it's the activity of God that reminds us we're not doing this alone. 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 We have the most amazing partner ever. We're never doing this alone. Although we can go out to the far land if we want, and we can try to do life alone. And sometimes it works okay, but most of the time we're ready to come back, and we're ready to come back to this place where we remember, oh yeah, that's right, I'm not doing this alone. So along Santiago's journey, he has these seeming setbacks and coincidences and revelations and ideas. And so one such as he was journeying, he met a young lady, and he was just like, he knew this was the one. And so he was making plans that he would sell his sheep, and he would come back, he would quit being a shepherd, he would come back. But then the Holy Spirit, the activity of God, urged his life in another direction. And it was difficult at times because the direction wasn't the direction that he thought that he should be going. But something in Santiago, it just followed whatever that next right step was. Now, being a shepherd, he which he absolutely loved, in following this, he did end up selling his flock of sheep, and then he went out into the world and he lost all his money, and then he came across working with a guy who had a crystal shop and sold beautiful crystal pieces and crystal glasses, and he improved his business so much that he made a lot of money, and then he went back out and he lost his money again. So it's like, and then he finally came back to the actual monetary treasure ultimately, but it was like all these things, as we would all look at, they would freak us out, of course. But the beauty of this story is that Santiago is so in tune with the soul of God, with the soul of the earth, with the soul of the universe, that he just continues forward and doing the next right thing, even when it doesn't look like the next right thing. One of the things, and I love this, was that they were in the desert and they were finally heading to the pyramids. But along the way, they would have detours and they would have things come up. But in the story, it talked about that, because every morning they could look and they could see the star, or in the evening they could see the star. As long as they were focused on the star, the path always readjusted itself to that. The path always readjusts to whatever it is that we keep our vision focused on. And what happens is that when we have those detours, what do we do so many times? Give up, right? We say, nope, it's not meant to be for me. It's not, this is not the direction I'm supposed to go. And I'm going to tell you guys, that's not an easy place to be, is it? Because we're not sure. When we feel like we're beating our head up against something, do we keep going that direction or do we go another direction? And that's why today is so important, because it's not you that has to know it. It's the greater realm of who you are. It's your higher self. It's God. It's source. It's whatever you want to call that. And those are the times that we go back to that. We go back to that source, to that place, and we say, I am not sure here what it is, but I know that it will be revealed to me, and it will be revealed. It will absolutely be revealed. And the really cool thing about this is that no matter what direction you go, you can't get it wrong. You can't. Because if you're open, you're going to grow and you're going to expand whichever direction you go. And if you get a little off course and you're looking at that star, guess what? Your path is going to readjust right to the vision that you are holding on to. And that is absolute truth. So I want to share with you something that that he says that I think is so beautiful. And this is Santiago. He said, every second of the search is an encounter with God, the boy told his heart. When I've been truly searching for my treasure, every day has been luminous, because I've known that every hour was a part of the dream that I would find. When I've been truly searching for my treasure, I've discovered things along the way that I never would have seen had I not had the courage to try things that seemed impossible for a shepherd to achieve. So his heart was quiet for an afternoon. That night, the boy slept deeply, and when he awoke, his heart began to tell him things that came from the soul of the world. It said that all people who are happy have God within them, and that happiness could be found in a grain of sand from the desert, as the alchemist had said, because a grain of sand is a moment of creation, and the universe has taken millions of years to create it. Everyone on earth has a treasure that awaits him, his heart said. Now, some of the other things that I loved about this story was how it talked about love, that obviously love is the harmonizing principle and power of the universe. But one of the things that I love too is that he went out in search of his treasure. And through all of his journeys, through everything that he went through, what he discovered was that true treasure was in the journey. The true treasure was all that the people along the way and the places and all of the discoveries and all of those moments of awakening, that was the true treasure. And interestingly enough, it takes him back to a place that he was where he actually could dig, and he had actually found an actual treasure there. And I love that that's that reminder that where is the treasure? It's always right here. Yeah, last night my grandson stayed, and one of the things that we love to do, and we do it over and over again, is we love to watch the movie The Wizard of Oz. And I've always loved that movie, but last night, and I've always recognized the bigger meanings of it, but last night it was just really there for me because I'm working on this talk, and I'm looking at the Scarecrow, and I'm looking at the Tin Man, and I'm looking at the Lion, and I'm looking at Dorothy, and what do they say? It's all already been right there, all along. That thing that you thought that you had to go outside of yourself to look for, it's all been here all the time. And the really great thing about this is that it doesn't mean that we're not going to go out in search of things and that we're not going to gather with people who are like-minded or even not like-minded. What it does mean is that we go from a different place. We go recognizing and knowing that we're not doing this alone. We go knowing that the soul of the world, the soul of God is right here with us. We go knowing that we can trust what is unfolding, that we can step forward even when it doesn't look like we can see what that next step is. We go with a whole different attitude into whatever it is that we are going for. So Paulo says that there are reasons why we don't go for our treasure, or we don't go discover our personal legend. And he said the first one is we are told from childhood on that everything we want to do is impossible. Now, I don't think it's necessarily everything, but how many of us can relate to really having our dreams just kind of dampened? And not necessarily just by parents, but just by the world as a whole. The second one, and I think this is really interesting, is that we're afraid of hurting those around us by abandoning everything in order to pursue our dream. And for most of us, we don't have to abandon everything. We're just afraid of hurting the people around us by even making a little choice, a little decision that we think that might, get them out of alignment. The third one is fear of the defeats that we will meet along the path, that we're afraid of, what if I fail? What if I, these kinds of things. And then the fourth one is the fear of realizing the dream that we have fought for all of our lives. The fear of success is what I believe that one is called. But the really beautiful thing about this is, for me, I recognize that, the great teacher, Jesus, he was the ultimate alchemist. The man turned water into wine, and he took a loaf of bread and 5 fish and created more than enough. And even just being in his presence, his energy was one that the atoms and cells in people's bodies around him would transform, and they would be healed. And he said, you can do these things and more. You can do these things and more. And so the reality today, my friends, is that we are all alchemists. And our job here isn't necessarily to turn lead into gold, but it is to turn our lives into gold. It is to step into our greatest and highest vision of what we have for ourselves and to move forth with that, to make no more excuses. That's how we are an alchemist in our own lives. So what might this look like for us? Maybe it is something big. Maybe we want to go back to school, or we want to start a business, or we want to become a professional something. Maybe we want to take a stand very strongly. There's big things that may be pulling us, that may be calling us. It could look like stepping into or out of a relationship. Maybe that calling is taking the steps that we know are there for us to take to move out of an active addiction that is keeping us from really expressing our best life. It could look like bringing out your painting supplies or your guitar or your dance shoes. It could look like just being a more authentic expression of yourself. How many times have we found ourselves in a place where we're backing up, where we're not expressing our truth? And why? Fear. And if we live in fear, then we cannot be the best expression of ourselves that we have come here to be. And then it could look like just taking charge of your mind, changing your thoughts. We have these ideas, and it's amazing to me how programmed we can be on things that we don't even realize we're programmed on, and so how important it is for us to wake up to that. So I'm going to share this with you. When growing up on Christmas morning, there were 4 of us kids, and we would walk down the hallway, and the living room was here, and the kitchen was here. We were not allowed to even look in at the Christmas tree. Like, my dad loved to play with us on Christmas morning. So we were not allowed to even look in at the Christmas tree, at the presents. And we would have to go sit down, and he would take the longest time eating breakfast. He just loved that. Well, a number of years back, somebody had gotten me some gifts before my birthday and put them on my table. And all of a sudden I realized I was not letting myself look at the gifts that were sitting on my kitchen table because I had been so programmed in my mind not to look. And so it's so important for us to start becoming aware of what are those things that we're living out of, that we're not even realizing that we're living out of. And the only way we're going to know them is to start waking up and to start, really looking at them and saying, these things are no longer going to run my life. I'm going to start making some different choices. So a couple of just personal examples I have for you. One is that, I've shared that in my younger life into my adult life that, there was a lack of money, lack of self-value, a lack of time. So one of the ways that I've recognized that my lack of abundance has showed up throughout the years is that I have a tendency to collect things, like more than I ever could need. And I'm not a hoarder, and I'm not judging that, but if you saw my house right now, because I've been pulling these things out, you would think I was a hoarder because my house is just full of stuff right now. But for me, it was that realization that, okay, and I love it. And you know what motivated me? Myrtle Fillmore. There was a Facebook thing. And Myrtle, if she got a gift and it wasn't something she would use, she would give it to somebody else because her philosophy was, if I'm not using it, somebody should be getting some use out of it. And I realized that, of course, just the releasing it's been so much fun. But more so, what the calling, that deeper calling is for me, is to line up with my greatest partner in life and know that anything that I need will be there for me. How many of us have gotten rid of something once, and then it's like years later we're like, dang it, I gave that thing away. And so we have a hard time getting rid of things, right? Think about it now. Think about it. Because that one time, and it's probably been a little $10, $12 thing that, but no, I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna keep it. It's been so liberating and so freeing. And so that's just one of the ways that we can follow that calling, because I just want to walk in trust with my Creator, and not have a bunch of stuff around. The second thing that came up for me was that sense of not valuing myself. And I learned this as a child. I learned this growing up that, I could, quote unquote, make my dad happy if I just made sure my behavior was perfect and I maybe didn't do some of the things that I really wanted to do. And I took that into my first marriage, and I took it into my second marriage, and I took it into relationships with friends and with work environments, and I gave up things that were really, really, really important to me. And why? Because I didn't value myself. And so that's another big calling for me, is just valuing myself, is just stepping into and recognizing when I'm giving up something that is really important to me, and trusting enough to be able to stand in that no matter where I'm at, and saying, this is important to me, and I'm going to trust whatever unfolds here. So those are just two examples to kind of get the juices flowing, to kind of start having you think about, because to be our most authentic expression, it's those things that are standing in the way of our light. Because, again, that comes out of fear. Most of this stuff comes out of fear. Fear of not having enough, fear of what people are going to think, fear of hurting somebody, fear of fear. And so if we're in fear, our light is not able to express the way that it was intended to express. So I just want to encourage you throughout this week to really take some time to think about this, to take some time to think about, so what is that call of me? Maybe it is something really that you are like, I'm stepping into this. I've been wanting to write a book, and I'm going to do it. Or maybe it's, I'm going to take the plunge, and I'm going to move into this relationship, and I'm going to move into it wholeheartedly. Or maybe it's, I'm going to start journaling every day so I can become more clear on what I'm thinking about. It could be anything. But the main thing in this is to recognize you're not doing it alone. That whatever is standing in the way of that greater expression of the light, that God is right there with you. And God's got you. God is for us. And you can trust that. And you can trust that unfoldment. I want to share with you this one quote. It's so beautiful. He said, "The boy reached through to the soul of the world and saw that it was a part of the soul of God. And he saw that the soul of God was his own soul, and that he, a boy, could perform miracles." So my message to you today is, you guys, you can perform miracles. You can perform miracles in your life. And the thing is, you're the only one who can perform miracles in your life. There are others around us who can help us, who can be there to support us, but it's you. And if you want a different experience of life, call upon your wonderful partner of the divine and say, I am so ready. Show me the way. And I'm going to have the faith to step out and to take that next step. I love Marlene Chisholm, who is one of our congregants here. And she's doing like a daily thing on Facebook, which is so wonderful. But she says, just take that next step. Just take that next step. And then you take the next step. And a year from today, your life is going to be so different because you took that next step. And then you took that next step. And you took that next step. But if we don't take the steps, you guys, we can't blame anybody else. Because it's us. And it's God. And you got this. You got this. And namaste.